Welcome back, everybody. We're here tonight behind the screens with Jerry Quartz. Hello, Jerry.
Hi, how's it going?
All good.
Amazing.
All good.
Yes. So as always, we're gonna pass on the words to David now, who's gonna tell us more about KnownOrigin and this wonderful series. David, after you.
Thank you, Serena. Hi, I'm David Moore, one of the co-founders of KnownOrigin. We're one of the leading digital art platforms in the NFT space. We empower digital artists and creators to showcase and sell their artworks that they produce as NFTs. Check out KnownOrigin _.io on Twitter and KnownOrigin.io online to check out the gallery. Tonight on Behind the Screens, we have Jerry Quartz, aka Complete. He joined our platform in 2020 November, and he sold 27 artworks. He's completely sold out on KO. He does amazing animation pieces, and the first time I saw Jerry's work was these kind of duotone neo kind of flame hands that I saw some of his pieces on Instagram, and I knew that I really liked his pieces and we needed to get him on KO. So without further ado, I will hand back over to Serena to do Behind the Screens. We're going to do some cool kind of behind the screen stuff about Jerry's work and some of the cool stuff that he has in his studio. So if you have any questions for Jerry or Serena, please feel free to hit me up on Twitter. So it's KnownOrigin _.io, and we'll try and get the questions back to Serena on YouTube. So let's crack on with tonight's show, and I will be behind the scenes. So if you need me, just let me know. Have a great night. See you soon, Jerry. See you soon, Serena.
Thank you, David. See you very soon. Thank you. So welcome, everybody. And as David said, feel free to share any questions with us on the comments, and we'll pick them up as we go through this live. But Jerry, we're very eager to learn more about you and how you create your works. So to start off, I see two wonderful paintings in the background, and I would love for you to tell us more about it. So let's start with the one on your right-hand side, perhaps.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So
tell us more about this painting and how it came to life.
So I don't know, like I've done a few other paintings before this one, just like very neo-expressionism and very much inspired by Basquiat, for lack of better artists. And I don't know, I just really wanted to just fill up a canvas. Originally, before I get to that one, I started off with this one, which is the biggest canvas I've painted on. So I just kind of wrote a lot of mantras to myself just to kind of like look back on and to like remember. That's why I kind of have it above my bed. I figured out that I like kind of really enjoy drawing skulls of like random things and stuff and just scribbling. And then after that one, I kind of moved to this one. I wanted to get into like more like collage-y type of pieces. So that's actually colored paper that I liquid cemented on. Then yeah, so I've used spray paint, block printing medium, markers, alcohol-based markers as well, paint markers, like pretty much any marker I had, acrylic, and that was pretty much it. I started this piece off by like, if you look really close, there's like words that you can kind of start to make out. So I just kind of wrote words that I wouldn't really necessarily tell anyone. And then I just kind of painted over it. So it's like a cathartic experience to kind of make both those paintings.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for showing these paintings up close. I'd love to ask you some question about the technique, but also about the subjects that you use in your work. So you briefly just told us that you tend to mix words that you probably wouldn't say, you wouldn't share with anybody. And also you use kind of like symbols and animals and references to, you know, things that are probably dreamlike in some ways. So I would love to hear, how do you blend those elements together, and what is the link that sort of creates the story, the underneath story in your paintings?
So like in my paintings and my digital work as well, the main focus of what I really wanted to push, because I used to be a Photoshop artist before this, and I used to make photo manipulations, and I did quite well doing that. I caught the eyes of Adobe and Photoshop countless times. But the thing with the photo manipulations that I had is they didn't really speak to what was going on in my life. They were just pretty pictures. They looked nice. They did well on social media. So when I reinvented myself coming onto Twitter, before I started dipping into the crypto art scene, I really wanted to be more expressive with my concepts. So all of the words that you kind of see going throughout all of my pieces are just either things I'm going through at that moment, things that inspire me. And I like to think that I communicate a lot of what's happening in my life now through my art, because I'm more of like a reserved person. I don't like to talk about anything that's really happening in my life unless other people prompt me to do it. So yeah, and then like as for the symbolism and everything, it's just kind of whatever pops into my head. I'm really inspired by like traditional tattoo, like motifs and stuff like that. So in a few of the things that I'll show later on, you're going to see skulls, and there's a few diamonds and barbed wire and stuff like that. So yeah.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for sharing, the story with us. And then you found the crypto art space. How did you move from like more traditional and physical art into something that was more digital and into crypto?
Yeah. So I've always done digital art. These two pieces in my background are like one of the few pieces that I've done physically. But it was like, I wouldn't say it was like a super easy switch, but I've been making digital stuff for a long time, and I've always been interested in technology and stuff like that. I don't know if Mew is in the chat anywhere, but he actually got me started. Earlier on Twitter, I kind of tweeted that out. I didn't have money to kind of mint, so he actually sent me money to mint. And then he actually bought my last piece to sell out on KO today. So it was really cool.
Wow. That's a wonderful, story. So thank you. I don't know if this person is in the audience, but yeah, I send my love to you as well, because I think supporting artists and finding ways to do that by collecting the work is definitely, showing the love and the care we have for artists and people, that create in the space. So thank you for sharing that. I'd love to know more about some of your recent works now.
Yeah.
You were showing them to me earlier on, and I know today you had this sale, and as David said, all your works have been sold out on KO. So I would love to maybe dive a bit more into those digital works that you create.
Yeah, so recently I just closed a collection called The Epilogue. And in my personal life, there was a bit of a switch where I had to kind of really look internally and deal with a lot of my like inner demons, for lack of better comparison. And I don't know, I just titled it The Epilogue mainly because I wanted to show that this is the beginning of something, and that I'm nowhere close finished doing what I want to do in the space. But yeah, so it consisted of 5 pieces, one of which...
Would you like to share them on screen, maybe?
Yeah, totally. So let me pull it up.
And I don't know if the people watching here have seen Jerry's works before, but those are completely like immersive. They will get you in another dimension. The layers that he applies on the digital canvas are really reflective of like the different moods and different kind of like status that you can explore within a single work. So it's kind of like those elements coming to life and really popping up on your screen. And I love the fact that you use these very short animations like GIFs that kind of loop and take you into that trait world that you recreate. And the atmosphere is kind of surreal. So that's the kind of feel I get by looking at your works. So I get lost in those kind of like oniric places that feel like dreams, but at the same time, they hold collections of things we would recognize in the real world. So it's quite interesting to see how these two realities blend together. Right, so I'm just sharing the screen now, and I think we're on your KnownOrigin collection page.
Yep. So yeah, this is the epilogue series. So yeah, to like kind of reiterate it, it's just like very emotional pieces that absolutely mean the world to me. Each one of them was like a different stage of where I was at. And I actually made this one, the very last piece, months ago, and I've just kind of had it sitting for a while. So it was good that I was able to drop it with you guys, like on KnownOrigin, and like be able to like really make that piece kind of count. But yeah, I'll flip through the other ones quick.
And can I ask you, see these people we see represented in the in the artworks, are they people you know, or pictures you've taken, or you know, it's something that they represent for you?
So on the most part, I use a lot of stock photography, and then I just add my own touch to it. Realistically, I find I've always worked with stock photos, although I do take photos in my spare time. I always try and grab the photo first and figure out what concept I want to base it off of, and then I kind of morph it around that. But towards the end, it usually starts to kind of piece itself together. And like my process is like I'll find the photo, add my touches onto it, figure out what I want to do for the animation, and bring it into a drawing program where I animate it fully. And while I'm animating it, I'll start adding all of these little things that I've picked up, whether they're like symbols or things that have really spoke to me in lyrics, or stuff that I just randomly think about.
And in terms of the colors you use, like I see there's a lot of blue tonalities, but also like red and orange. Is that something that you feel close to your emotions, like this kind of like hot and cold, or how do you picture those colors?
I don't know. I just really like psychedelic type of looking stuff as well. Initially, when I first started on KO, and a little bit before that, I was really inspired by like infrared cameras, and the way that they kind of picked up different ways to display something, and I kind of wanted to do the same thing. I wish that I could say that there was like some sort of super deep meaning behind it, but it's just something that I'm drawn to aesthetically.
It's a beautiful aesthetic, and I think it goes very well with everything it's drawn in the background. It really sort of brings the two closer, you know, it makes them balanced in a way, I think, in the overall picture. It's great. And in terms of upcoming projects and things you're currently working on, I know you showed me some other works. I would love to hear more about what your plans are for, you know, the present and possibly the future.
So I'm definitely gonna slow down a little bit. Over the last few months, I've realized that I've minted quite a bit of things, and some things like I've grown quite a bit in these last few months. So I'm definitely going to be slowing down in terms of constantly putting stuff up, just because I want to be able to finalize the style a bit more, and I think I'm almost there. As for any further projects moving forward, I do have one really big one planned for the next collection. Although I can't talk too much about it yet because it's still in like the infancy stage of planning. But I will say that I want to include as much elements of the blockchain as possible. I want to be able to kind of immerse people in it instead of just like giving them a piece and being like, here, buy this. I want to have like an interactive element to it outside of where people would collect.
Great. Well, I think that's a great hint, and we're gonna wait to see that series coming to life. I have a couple of other questions for you, and I just want to remind everybody watching that if you want to share questions with us or comments, please go ahead. But yeah, my next question for you is there anything that you've kept on with you since the beginning of your art practice? Is there any like object or even a feeling or something that you think it's been with you and keeping you sort of creative?
Definitely reminding myself to be like unconditionally self-expressive has been one thing that I've carried from piece to piece. Because like where I started before, it was just like I make a piece and post it on Instagram and cross my fingers and hope. Whereas now it acts more as like a therapy element rather than just like something that I would just do in my spare time.
Absolutely. Yes. I think that's a lovely thought about sharing, the works you do and stay connected with who you are. And last but not least, I would love to know more about your connection with your audience. So since you've been so successful and popular in the crypto art space, how have you been interacting with your audience? And do you stay in touch? Do you know them? Do you know your collectors? How has that been working for you?
Yeah, I mean, there's been like a recent turn for me where it's been tough for me to feel like I can connect with people. But there is a group of friends that like I connect with on the daily that are also within the scene. And actually a few of them are there from what I can see. And I don't know, I just want to, for instance, I made like one of those cliche, like, show me your NFT tweets. Because I sold out of the collection. And I don't know, it's just like I want to be able to support people kind of like the same way that Muse supported me in the beginning by helping me mint. I want to be able to support people by giving back to the community, by buying people's NFTs that aren't really seen often. Yeah, like that's pretty much all I got.
Thank you. We have a question for you before we go. So which medium style have you been wanting to explore the most that you haven't already? That's a good one.
Yeah. So I've dipped into spray paint, but not too much, only because I don't know what to do with it from a traditional standpoint. From a digital standpoint, I feel like that's a little challenging. I feel like I'd want to get into 3D. There are a few pieces that I minted in 3D, but I don't foresee myself going back to 3D anytime soon just because it's so complex. So if you have those 3D NFTs from me, they might be the last ones I make.
Cool. A true rarity.
Yeah.
Who knows what the future will hold for you and, what type of art or medium you're going to explore.
Definitely.
Very last thing before we go, I would love if you could share with us your workstation, from where you create art. That's a place everyone, I think, is curious about and loves to know more. Because I think digital artists these days have, sort of shifted from the more traditional studio. And everyone has different like working station for that creative process. And yes, what we have introduced in this behind the screen series now is giving a little tour of the artist studio. So please, Jared.
So I just have like my room pretty much. And this is kind of where I do most of my work. So we just have an external monitor. I'm using the laptop that would be connected to it. And then just very simple. And then when I go to animate stuff, I just have like this iPad, kind of older, but it gets the job done. And then if I'm painting, I would like to paint on the wall, but the 3M command strips that I have always give out and it falls on the floor. So I actually just like paint over here in between these two kind of marker pieces that I did. And yeah, that's pretty much my whole kind of setup. But yeah.
That's a really nice desk, and I love the setup. Thank you so much for taking us, touring your room and your studio. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, Jerry, it's been wonderful getting to know you better and looking at your work and talking to you about, your inspirations and your art. Thanks again for being with us at Behind the Screens, and thank you to MoCDA and KnownOrigin for putting the series together. But yeah, thank you all for staying with us today. Thank you to the audience and to you, Jerry. So good luck with everything, and we'll see you again very soon.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
See you soon. Take care.
Bye.